December 10th, 2022. The Spirit of Hawaii was minutes from touching down at Whiteman Air Force Base when the crew heard a sound no B-2 pilot ever wants to hear. A sharp crack. Seconds later, the bomber slammed the runway, sparking across concrete in a shower of metal and flame. The wing root ignited in a blaze, while two deafening explosions rattled everything nearby. The crew evacuated from what moments before had been America's most advanced warplane. The aircraft was reduced to wreckage, and the damage alone assessed at roughly $300 million. Now, a newly released Air Force investigation sheds light on the chain of failures that turned a routine landing into one of the rarest and most serious incidents in B-2 history. The B-2 Spirit represents the cutting edge of stealth technology. But decades before these bombers took to the skies, another aircraft pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The legendary SR71 Blackbird. And now, you can own a piece of that aerospace legacy. The Habu by Wreck Watches incorporates authentic titanium from SR71 Blackbird number 617956, the most flown Blackbird in history, with over 1,454 missions and 3,967 flight hours. This particular aircraft trained countless pilots to master the extreme speeds and advanced systems that made the SR-71 legendary. While stationed in Kandina Air Base in Okinawa, these reconnaissance aircraft earned the nickname Habu, after the region's deadly pit viper, a fitting name for a machine that could outrun any missile fired at it. The Habu timepiece features genuine SR-71 titanium in its lower dial, sourced from the aircraft's engine nacelle exhaust ejectors, the turkey feathers that regulated afterburner pressure at above Mach 3. This raw material was provided by Daniel Freeman, former supervisor and chief of metals technology for the 9th Reconnaissance Wing. Beyond the historic titanium, every design element honors the Blackbird's revolutionary engineering, from the cockpit-inspired dial to the crown shaped after the twin-engine inlet cones. Visit repwatches.com to secure your Habu timepiece. And to get an additional 10% off, use the promo code DARKTECH. A B-2 can't be considered just a bomber. It's a $2.1 billion investment that's able to fly, and worst of all, get hit. First unveiled in 1988 and operational since 1993, it's a technological marvel engineered for stealth, speed, and strategic reach. Every panel, every edge is engineered for stealth, making it a nearly invisible threat in modern warfare. And beneath this surface lies a groundbreaking technological marvel of complex systems. Its airframes endure extraordinary stress. Long missions from Whiteman Air Force Base to the Balkans, sorties from the tropical heat and humidity of Diego Garcia, or flights over the Pacific. Yet despite the rigors of decades of service, only 2 B-2s have ever been lost. The most recent loss occurred in 2022. Minutes from landing at Whiteman, the crew of the Spirit of Hawaii had barely begun their final approach when a sharp metallic crack echoed through the cockpit. Instantly, the left main landing gear collapsed, and the Spirit of Hawaii slammed onto the runway at over 150 miles per hour. Shards of metal and fragments of composite tore across the runway, leaving a trail of glowing embers. Flames burst from the wing root, and the roar of 2 powerful explosions reverberated across the airfield. As the aircraft lurched uncontrollably, the pilot, grappling with the reality of losing the Air Force's most advanced stealth bomber, quote, stood up out of the seat to give it everything he had on the right brake, trying to counter the slide. Although firefighters reached the scene quickly, their response faltered. The incident commander held back from using aqueous film-forming foam for the first 3 minutes and 28 seconds, letting the fire spread and do more damage to the wing. Aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, is a specialized and relatively expensive firefighting agent designed to rapidly suppress fuel-fed fires by forming a blanket that smothers flames and prevents reignition. Military-grade AFFF is relatively costly, roughly $15 to $30 per gallon, so procedures often emphasize careful use. The delay came from a mistaken belief that it was meant only as a last resort. Yet against the odds, every crew member escaped unharmed. No lives were lost in the fire, and no injuries were reported amid the destruction. In August 2025, investigators made public a report that offered the first detailed account of what went wrong aboard the Spirit of Hawaii. Investigation Board President Colonel Jesse Lemarand determined that, quote, the mishap was caused by a failure of a truck position sequence valve hydraulic coupling. Despite this technical failure, the report also makes clear that the mishap happened even though everything up to that point went smoothly. Mission planning, maintenance, pre-flight checks, engine start, taxi, and takeoff all proceeded without any problems. Further investigation also found that a design vulnerability in the main landing gear allowed the lock link assembly to move out of its locked position during the emergency gear extension. Similarly, the board concluded that even if firefighters had deployed aqueous film-forming foam earlier, it would not have significantly lessened the damage, highlighting how some disasters unfold beyond human control. According to the report, the Spirit of Hawaii could have been fixed. Every damaged wire, scorched panel, and burned component was technically repairable. But this wasn't a question of possibility. It came down to strategy and resources. With only 19 B-2s ever built, restoring a fire-damaged bomber would require hundreds of millions of dollars in parts, months of labor, and a small team of engineers with rare expertise. Even though the damage, roughly $300 million, was only a fraction of the aircraft's original value, the Air Force weighed the B-2's age and the limited remaining service life of the fleet. Pouring that level of time and money into an airframe nearing retirement didn't make strategic sense. The Spirit of Hawaii's crash is just one chapter in the B-2's history of rare but dramatic mishaps. Earlier incidents, like the catastrophic loss of another B-2 in 2008, highlight the challenges of operating these machines. On February 23, 2008, the Spirit of Kansas suffered a catastrophic failure during a routine training flight in Guam. The aircraft, with over 5,100 flight hours, was on its final mission after a 4-month Pacific deployment, beginning its takeoff roll from Andersen Air Force Base. Due to the recent heavy, lashing rains in the preceding days, water had seeped into the aircraft's skin flush air data sensors. 3 pressure transducers, crippled by condensation, misread the bomber's airspeed and angle of attack. This was not entirely surprising, as the aircraft's skin-mounted sensors were highly sensitive to moisture, and even light rain could produce erroneous readings that disrupted flight systems. In the cockpit, displays showed a safe rotation speed. In reality, the aircraft was 12 knots too slow. The instant the wheels left the tarmac, the flight control system switched modes, and the faulty data triggered a violent, uncommanded 30-degree pitch up at 1.6 Gs. Jet fuel turned the wreck into an inferno, consuming what seconds earlier had been the most advanced bomber in the world. The aircraft was destroyed, bringing in a total loss estimated at $1.4 billion in destroyed airframe and essential components. The incident remains the most expensive aircraft crash in history, underscoring the high value and complexity of such advanced military platforms. Total losses aren't the only events that reveal just how fragile the B-2 fleet can be. On the night of September 13, 2021, the B-2 named Spirit of Georgia made an emergency landing at Whiteman Air Force Base. Upon touchdown, the left main landing gear collapsed, and the bomber skidded off the runway into the grass, coming to rest on its left side. Remarkably, no one aboard was hurt, and the bomber avoided catching fire. Investigators later determined that worn lock link springs in the left landing gear, likely not replaced for at least a decade, produced about 11% less tension than required. Additionally, micro-cracking in the hydraulic connections reduced support to the landing gear. Together, these mechanical issues caused the gear to fold under the aircraft's weight during landing. The damage totaled at least $10.1 million, and final repair costs were still being determined as of March 2022. Even so, the aircraft was successfully repaired and put back into service. A similar close call happened in February 2010 at Andersen Air Force Base, where the B-2 Spirit of Washington was getting ready for a routine training mission. As the aircraft began its takeoff roll, a sudden fireball erupted from the left engine, igniting an onboard blaze that rapidly consumed near the fuselage. The searing heat warped and melted parts of the B-2's titanium and aluminum frame, while wiring, hydraulic lines, and other internal components were burned down to smoldering ash. At the time, the Air Force had no specialized training to handle B-2 engine fires, leaving crews to improvise under extreme conditions. Despite the catastrophic damage, no personnel were injured. The fire left the aircraft severely damaged, requiring 18 months of painstaking repairs to restore it to airworthiness. Technicians replaced destroyed systems, reinforced structural components, and meticulously rebuilt critical flight controls. These earlier left-side incidents revealed vulnerabilities in both the landing gear and engine systems. Limited resources, the age of the fleet, and the rarity of full-scale accidents contributed to a reliance on incremental fixes rather than comprehensive overhauls. Even with just 2 total losses and a handful of near disasters over decades of service, the B-2's reputation as a technological marvel endures. Yet this sophistication comes with significant fragility. According to the General Accounting Office, the B-2, quote, must be sheltered or exposed only to the most benign environments: low humidity, no precipitation, moderate temperatures. The plane's skin, made of thermoplastics and radar-transparent composites, cannot handle heat, damp, or rain. These materials are meant to preserve the bomber's radar-evading stealth, but without that stealthiness, the aircraft falls short of the unique technological achievement the Air Force has touted. Looking ahead, the age and limitations of the B-2 fleet are shaping the Air Force's modernization plans, and repairing heavily damaged aircraft like the Spirit of Hawaii would have slowed progress toward broader upgrades. By the late 2030s, most of the B-2s will be retired, with only a small number remaining to preserve long-range stealth strike capability during the transition. The B-21 Raider, built to be more versatile, survivable, and easier to operate in harsh environments, represents the future of long-range stealth bombing, carrying forward the capabilities and hard-won insights gained from decades of B-2 operations. Many thanks to Rec Watches for sponsoring today's video. Their Habu timepiece lets you wear authentic SR71 Blackbird titanium on your wrist. Visit recwatches.com to own a piece of the fastest spy plane ever built. And don't forget to use the promo code DARKTech.